about how in the case of Yogi Adityanath, the BJP took 7 days. In the case of Himanta Biswa Sarma, you took 8 days. Why are you begrudging RP Singh, the Congress, for taking 3 or 4 days? After all, it's a big state, it's a historic mandate. They will take their time to arrive at a consensus Chief Minister.
Well, we have no problem. They can take another probably few months also to decide their Chief Minister. But Zaka, please ask your backup team to search through. Was there any noise in the media or anywhere else that, or there were any leg pulling or any sort of another level of tug of war going on between these CM candidates like is going on here in Karnataka? One. Secondly, parallelly you are missing on one thing, which is that what's happening in Rajasthan today. I mean, what happened in Rajasthan few years back, and the people of Rajasthan have suffered because of that, and exactly the same is being repeated in Karnataka today. Sachin Pilot was in race. He was not made the Chief Minister, he was made the Deputy Chief Minister, the promise of rotation or probably of, that after 3 years he will get the term, but that didn't happen. And now what we've seen how the law and order has collapsed, how things have collapsed and administration has collapsed in Rajasthan. So our concern is the same in Karnataka also. I mean, they, God bless them, they can take their time as much they want to, but ultimately it's the people of Karnataka who are going to suffer because of the tug of war going on between the leaders of the Congress party. Whether it's Shiv Kumar, whether it is Siddaramaiah, or whether it is Mr. Khadge himself.
Okay, R.K. Upadhyay, you know, this whole thing about a third candidate, Mr. Khadge or Mr. Parmeshwara, whoever it is, how much do you lend credence to that? Because, like I said a moment ago, it ends up alienating both Mr. Siddaramaiah and Mr. Shiv Kumar. I'm not sure what purpose is achieved by that. Have things got to a point where neither party can be placated, neither party can be sort of enthused, even if he were to lose the chief ministership, something else is given in return? Because this third candidate business, it's been floating around for a couple of days now. How much, how real is the possibility of a third candidate, a surprise candidate?
No, I don't think that is possible, because these are the two principal actors who won this election for Karnataka, and there's no third person who has won this election. If at all some role has been played, it is by Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge giving a helping hand as a Congress president. And if you're talking about people like M.B. Patil or Parameshwar, they had a little role in these elections. So to make them as a third candidate or a possible compromise candidate, I think it will be turning the whole exercise into a farce, and it won't happen, because these two have really worked really hard to bring Congress to this level where they got 135 seats.
So between these two, who would you choose between these two?
See, it's very difficult, and I think they should have made this decision at least a week before, when they had a sense that Congress was getting a majority. I'm sure they knew that they were getting a majority, or at least when these observers were sent to Bangalore, and they meticulously took the opinion of each and every legislator till 2 a.m. They took them, and then what did they do with that? With all the information that they had.
No, the information there was very clear, Mr. Upadhyay. The MLAs very clearly, overwhelmingly voted or were in favor of Mr. Siddaramaiah. But clearly that's not the only yardstick the High Command wants to go by.
No, but see, by dragging the whole thing to Delhi and making a spectacle of it here, what is that you have achieved? I think they've made made Karnataka into a farce now.
Okay.
Because you have the media glare, every single meeting of, whichever leader is meeting, whichever leader is being covered, and people are speculating on what's happening. And the fact that the Siddaramaiah group went to town this morning saying that he has been selected, and in Bangalore, the preparations began for swearing in. This all, I think, must have embarrassed the Congress party.
Oh, absolutely.
Hello, Namaskar. This is Firstpost, and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. The G7 summit, and he'll have some explaining to do. Not so much for the bomb, but for the financial catastrophe that the US can unleash on the world. Their debt crisis is far from over. The world's biggest economy may default, and it will hit all of us. Can Joe Biden avert it? Can he tide over domestic political divisions to ensure that the world doesn't get another shock? We'll discuss. Meanwhile, China's special envoy is in Ukraine on a mission impossible. Ukraine is trying to gang up with the Europeans to put pressure on America. Russia is joining hands with Iran to beat the Suez Canal. Xi Jinping is hosting Central Asian leaders to trump Putin in his backyard. Americans are depressed. Harry and Meghan Markle are being chased by paparazzi. And the world is too tired to exercise. A lot of ground to cover tonight. The headlines first. Big win for India. A US court allows the extradition of 2611 accused Tehevur Rana. The Pakistani origin Canadian is wanted by India for his role in the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks. Is Kazakhstan helping Russia evade Western sanctions? Astana denies the charge. The West accuses it of serving as a conduit for Moscow to obtain goods. Kazakhstan is Central Asia's largest economy. There's been a sharp increase in its re-exports of goods to Russia since the Ukraine war. Armenia's Prime Minister will meet Azerbaijan's president in Moscow next week. Will it lead to a breakthrough? The Russia-brokered meeting follows several rounds of talks led by the US and the EU. Relations between these two former Soviet republics have been tense since 1991. Are we heading towards a TikTok-free America? Montana becomes the first US state to ban it. The law will come into force from next year. The move will almost certainly be challenged legally. This could set the stage for a national ban on the Chinese-owned platform. The layoff bloodbath continues. British telecom group BT will axe up to 55,000 jobs over the next 7 years. The layoffs comprise 42% of their workforce. It comes just days after UK mobile phone giant Vodafone announced 11,000 job cuts. But if you work at Singapore Airlines, your job is more than secure. The airline will pay its staff a bonus of 8 months' salary. The bonanza comes after Singapore Airlines posted record profits. Joe Biden is in Japan. Yesterday, he killed the Quad summit. But he has made time for the G7 summit, and he has good reason to not avoid this one. America's credibility is under threat. The G7 is a group of the world's 7 biggest economies. They meet every year for a single purpose: to keep the global economy stable. Guess what the G7 is worried about this year? The American economy. The US is 2 weeks away from a potential default. It will spell disaster, not just for them, but the whole world. It will impact every member of the G7, and that's what they're worried about. So as Joe Biden landed in Japan today, he had his task cut out. He has to assure his partners that America will not default. It won't be easy, and it's quite an anticlimax for him. His visit to Asia was supposed to be a grand foreign policy project. Instead, it's been cut short, and it's off to a shaky start. He has cancelled the plan to visit Australia and Papua New Guinea. Thanks to him, the Quad summit in Sydney has been called off. The US president must rush back to firefight at home to negotiate his way out of the debt crisis. And this will be easier said than done. So the world is worried about what may be in store. As Biden left for Japan, he tried to calm nerves.
America will not default. And every leader in the room understands the consequences if we fail to pay our bills. And it would be catastrophic.
Catastrophic, he says. It's not an exaggeration. His government has 2 weeks to fix this. They need money to repay debts, government debts. They need to be able to borrow more, and for that, they need the US Congress on board. It must agree to further borrowing. It must raise the limit or the ceiling of debt. But the Congress has Republicans, and the Republicans seem to be in no mood to relent. Listen to what they're saying about Joe Biden's Asia visit.
Mr. President, stop hiding. Stop traveling somewhere else. America wants an American president focused on American problems, finding American solutions. We have them here for you.
The world heard that, and they got the message. There is no resolution yet, which means a default is very much possible. Over the weekend, there was a meeting. G7 central bank chiefs and finance ministers met in Japan. What did they discuss? The US debt ceiling crisis and the political stalemate in America. Reports say the crisis constantly figured in the discussions there. US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said there will be a default if the political impasse doesn't end. Yellen said this standoff is, quote-unquote, more difficult than those in the past.
A default would threaten the gains that we've worked so hard to make over the past few years in our pandemic recovery and it would spark a global downturn that would set us back much further.
Her British counterpart, Jeremy Hunt, shared an assessment too. He said it would be, and I'm quoting, absolutely devastating if the debt limit is not raised and America's economic growth will be, quote unquote, knocked off track. Japan's finance minister later confirmed that the US crisis was indeed discussed, but he refused to share the details.
At the G7 working dinner, a wide range of views were exchanged on the fiscal and monetary issues of each country. Secretary Yellen also mentioned the United States debt ceiling issue. It's a rule that we generally don't mention the statements made by foreign countries, so I would like to say only the fact that the statement was made and refrain from going into details.
After the talks, a joint communique was released. It did not mention America's debt crisis, but it's evidently the focus of G7 conversations. Leading institutions like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank have raised an alarm. Let me share their statements. The IMF said a US default will have, quote unquote, serious repercussions. We would want to avoid those severe repercussions, and for that reason, we again are calling on all of the parties to come together, reach consensus, and resolve the matter as quickly as possible. This is what the IMF is saying. Then we have the World Bank. It says clearly distress in the world's biggest economy would be negative for everyone. The repercussions would be bad to not get it done. This is the World Bank. So this American crisis, like I said, will impact all of us. And Biden will be expected to address this. He's been talking to the Republicans. The last round of discussions was held earlier this week. Both sides suggested they could end this crisis soon.
I don't have any comment.
We hope they do. But it's not over till it's over. We'll keep you posted on how it plays out in Hiroshima. Move over Tom Cruise, we say, because there's a new Mission Impossible man in town. Meet Li Hui. He's China's special envoy for peace in Ukraine. He landed in Kiev on Wednesday. He also held talks with President Volodymyr Zelensky and his foreign minister. Kiev had just one message for him. Peace talks are fine, but do not tell us to give up land or freeze the fighting. Any peace deal must respect Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. That was Kiev's message to China, as expected, which raises the question, what exactly is China trying to achieve here? What is their game plan? But first, let's get to know this peace envoy that Xi Jinping has sent. Li Hui joined China's foreign ministry in 1975. His focus, Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. That focus never changed. Throughout his career, Li has handled Russia and ex-Soviet states. He became deputy foreign minister in 2008, and the next year he was sent to Moscow. He stayed there for 10 years as ambassador, Chinese ambassador in Moscow. This was an important time for China-Russia relations. Bilateral trade tripled. Putin and Xi became best buddies, and a strategic anti-West partnership was forged. Li played a key role in all of this. He got the Order of Friendship from Vladimir Putin in 2019, and that's the highest honor given to non-Russians, the Order of Friendship. After Moscow, Li moved on to other things. He became China's special envoy for Eurasia. He's got friends in most East European capitals and ex-Soviet states. Also, he's a Russophile. He speaks Russian. He also loves Russian literature, apparently a big fan of Tolstoy, Chekhov, and Dostoevsky. Long story short, he's not a lightweight. He's a seasoned diplomat and he knows the region well. Does that mean he'll succeed? Well, that depends on his brief from Beijing. What has he set out to do? China released a 12-point peace plan earlier this year. It doesn't even call this a war. It talks about the crisis in Ukraine. And Zelensky knows this. He may keep asking Xi Jinping to put pressure on Putin, but even he knows the political reality. China is not going to compromise Russian interests. Not because they love Moscow, but because Russia's setback is the West's gain, and they don't want that. Which brings us to China's game plan. What is Beijing hoping to achieve? We can think of two things. Number one, some good press. Who doesn't love a peace envoy? And that too, a seasoned and powerful one. The world hated China's aggressive wolf warrior diplomacy. So this is their new strategy, from wolf warrior to peace warrior. It's a good try, but nobody's buying it. And reason number two, to keep a check on Russia. Now, don't be fooled by the ice cream dates between Putin and Xi. This is not a relationship that will last for ages. It's like that bromance you see in Bollywood movies. The actors may act like equals, but one is a hero, the other is a sidekick. So who's the sidekick here? Well, temperamentally, neither Putin nor Xi. But Russia's economy cannot match up to China, so Beijing sees Moscow as a junior partner, if not today, then sometime in the future. They also have territorial disputes and differences over Central Asia. So Xi Jinping wants to keep Moscow in check. This peace mission could serve that purpose too. It's a strategy to increase or reduce the heat on Putin. Where does that leave Ukraine? Zelensky's major problem is this: he can't do anything on his own. His tactics, his decisions, his future, everything is dictated by the West. And why is that? Because Ukraine doesn't have support beyond them. Reports say Zelensky is trying to change that, though. He's launching a major diplomatic offensive. His target is the global South. Ukraine is planning to send ambassadors to open embassies in more than 24 countries in the middle of a war. 24 countries. These are in Latin America, in Africa, and in Asia. The idea is to build up a global coalition against Russia. As part of this plan, Foreign Minister Kuleba visited Africa in October. Ukraine wants to tackle Russia's main narrative, that this campaign is limited to NATO. That's what Russia says. And that beyond NATO, no one is bothered about Ukraine. Kiev is trying to change that. It promises to be a tough task, though. For starters, Russia is an established African partner. It sells wheat, weapons, and mercenaries. Plus, Moscow has launched its own diplomatic offensive. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has visited 14 countries in Africa and Latin America. And remember, this is only in the month of May, 14 countries. And that's the problem with last-minute diplomacy. It never really works. Passionate appeals cannot replace decades-old partnerships. New embassies cannot substitute years of neglect. I'll give you an example. No Ukrainian foreign minister had ever visited Africa until 2022. Africa has 54 countries. Not a single visit in 31 years. It tells you why diplomacy is important. Good relations are forged over years, not through new ambassadors or embassies. And also not through ice cream dates, by the way. It's a lesson for both Russia and Ukraine. So Ukraine is waging a diplomatic offensive, not just to woo the global South, but also to convince its biggest ally in this war, the United States of America. Turns out all is not well between the two partners. For months, Ukraine has been asking for fighter jets, but Washington has refused. So now Ukraine has started a pressure campaign. It has roped in Europe, and it's finding support there. The idea is to put pressure on the US and force it into giving Ukraine what it wants. The effort began this week. Zelensky hopped around key European capitals. Everywhere he went, he asked for fighter jets. Italy and the UK were on board. Germany remained non-committal. France agreed, even offered to train Ukrainian pilots.
We have opened the door to training the pilots.
In France? Ukrainian pilots in France?
And we're doing this with several other European countries which are ready, and talks are ongoing with the Americans.
London is willing to push the needle even further. They announced an international coalition, an alliance to help Ukraine get F-16s. That's an American warplane, remember, F-16.
Yes, look, we are going to be a key part of the coalition of countries that provides that support to Vladimir and Ukraine. Now, it is not a straightforward thing, as Vladimir and I have been discussing, to build up that fighter combat aircraft capability. It's not just the provision of planes, it's also the training of pilots and all the logistics that go alongside that. Now, the UK can play a big part of that.
Who else is part of this coalition? Reports say the Netherlands and Belgium. Just like France, they're willing to train Ukrainian pilots. Denmark, too, is said to be involved in the discussions, but we're not sure if they're formally part of this coalition. In the past, though, they have expressed willingness to share their F-16s with Ukraine. So it sounds like the pieces are finally falling in place. But there's a small hiccup. Who would Ukraine get these planes from? Like I said before, the F-16 is an American plane. It is built by a company called Lockheed Martin, an American company. Several NATO countries use this plane. So Ukraine can get it from two sources, either the United States directly or one of its NATO allies. Now, so far, Washington has refused to share these jets. So Ukraine is depending on its European partners. They would like Europe to share the F-16s with them. But even that is complicated. You see, for any third-party transfer, you need permission from Washington. So unless America agrees, this transfer cannot happen. Listen to what the British Defence Secretary said today.
We can do what we've done throughout this, and Germany has been doing this with us in the International Donor Coordination Cell in Ramstein, which is we can enable other people who wish to. So if Boris is right, this is up to the White House to decide whether it wants to release that technology.
So where does Biden stand on this? He hasn't said yet. A few months back, the Pentagon was asked about this. A senior official said, "I don't think we're opposed." Those were his words. At the same time, he also said that a decision has not been made yet. So the US has avoided the issue so far, but it will soon have to make up its mind. Important meetings are lined up in the weeks and months ahead where this issue is expected to be discussed. The G7 summit this week, for instance, or the NATO summit in July. So America will have to decide sooner rather than later. Why are they hesitating, though? Why won't the US share F-16s with Ukraine? Because it wants to avoid a direct conflict with Russia. If Ukraine gets the F-16s, Putin will have another reason to escalate this war. And who knows, Moscow may see American and European targets as fair game. And that's the scenario that the US is trying to avoid. Same with Germany. Here's what their defense minister said.
I'm not a person who adheres to neverisms. I can't say today for certain that today's answer will not be a different one in 3 years. It is all a question of circumstance, of course. At this moment, we are not there yet, and we have not changed our position on this.
That may give Joe Biden some breathing room, but the issue will not die anytime soon, because Ukraine won't stop trying. Over in Pakistan, there's trouble brewing. Or should I say more trouble brewing. Police officers have surrounded Imran Khan's house in Lahore. They're setting up roadblocks. They're patrolling the streets. It looks like the calm before the storm. Everyone seems to be asking the same question. Will Imran Khan be arrested again? He released another video, a video address on Wednesday. This is what he said.
मैंने भी सुना है कि जनाब 40 दहशतगर्द मेरे घर में हैं जिनको मैंने पनाह दी हुई है और कहा जी कि हम इनके ऊपर कोई घर के ऊपर कार्रवाई होगी 40 दहशतगर्द को पकड़ने के लिए। मेरी रिक्वेस्ट है आपको कि 40 दहशतगर्द अगर घर में हैं तो मेरी जिंदगी को भी खतरा है। मेहरबानी करके जरूर आए यहाँ, लेकिन इस तरह ना आए कि कोई दावा बोल के इस तरह करें, सर्च वारंट लेके आए एक मुहस्सब माशरे की तरह आए कि कोई नाम तो दे, ये दहशतगर्द है कौन, और आए हम आपको सारी दिखा देते हैं घर में कितने दहशतगर्द हैं।
Imran Khan says his arrest is imminent, and looking at the pictures, that seems to be the case. But the government of Pakistan disagrees. Here's what they are saying. Imran Khan is hiding 40 suspects involved in last week's violence. If they're released, the siege will end. That's what the government says. And if they're not, well, use your imagination. Imran Khan had been summoned by investigation officers today. There are more than 100 cases against him. This one was linked to the Al-Qadir case. But Imran Khan skipped the summon. He sent a written response instead, and that was snub number 1. Snub number 2 came on social media. Look at what Imran Khan is saying. And I'm quoting, "Nation has been taken over by a bunch of crooks, criminals and duffers devoid of any ethics or morality." So he's on the war path. He has no intention of giving in yet. And where does that leave the army? Army Chief General Asim Munir broke his silence on Wednesday, and it was about time. He was visiting the Sialkot garrison, and this is what he said. I'm quoting again. "The armed forces will not tolerate any further attempt of violating the sanctity and security of its installations or vandalism. We are resolved to bring to justice all the planners, abettors, instigators, and executors of vandalism on the Black Day of 9th May. That's the Army Chief of Pakistan. And he's talking about last Tuesday. Imran Khan supporters had flooded the streets. Some of them had stormed military installations. So now the Army Chief has promised action, or rather, revenge. What does the Army plan to do with them? Military leaders say they will be tried under the Army Act. And this would be a drastic step. The Army Act is usually meant for soldiers and officers. The trials are not done in civilian courts, they're done in military courts. And the punishment? Even life sentence and death penalty. You can see why the army would like that. The civilian courts have protected Imran Khan once. Chances are they will protect him again. So why not take the courts out of the equation completely? Why not try his supporters in military courts? Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has supported the idea. He's calling for the toughest punishment possible.
ये पुकार कर ये मुतालबा उनका है कि जो बेगुनाह हैं उनको हाथ न लगाया जाए, जो गुनाहगार हैं किसी भी हवाले से उनको करारवा की सज़ा मिलेगी, तो फिर रहती दुनिया तक आइंदा इस तरह का वाक़या दोबारा रूनुमा नहीं होगा.
So that's where things stand. The army has cornered Imran Khan in Lahore. What does he do next? Is this the last stand? Or is it the start of something bigger? The last time around, the army made a big mistake. They went for the head of the snake. They arrested Imran Khan first. We all know what happened next. This time, they're using a bottom-up approach. Around 7,000 of his party workers have been arrested. Some senior leaders are also in jail, like Fawad Chaudhry. He was Imran Khan's loose cannon minister. Chaudhry had been released by the Islamabad High Court on Tuesday. He was happily heading home when this happened. Videos like that will intimidate leaders. Reports say many PTI leaders have quit the party. A lot of them have quit politics altogether. So here's the question. If Imran Khan is arrested again, will there be a repeat of last week? Or has the army action frightened them? This will be the real test of Imran Khan's support. Vantage continues after a short break.
UP. And there were three contenders, I think Manoj Sinha, Kesab Moria and Mr. Yogi. And it took more than 7 days to come to a consensus and to come to a decision. And after that, Mr. Yogi was sworn in as the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. As recently as in 2021, if you look at the state assembly elections of Assam, a very similar thing happened. There was a delay of 8 days because there was this conflict between Hemant Biswa Sharma and Mr. Sonowal. And I think it took about 7 to 8 days before a consensus could be arrived. And after that, Hemant Biswa Sharma was sworn in. And it has been what, like 3 or 4 days after the election results were out in Karnataka? So we have had instances of 7 to 8 days in choosing of the CM. And while I am not trying to make a comment on their internal process, I think this entire frenzy in sections of media and this frenzy being artificially created.
Do you remember this picture? It was among the most iconic ones of 2021. A massive container got stuck in the Suez Canal. For 6 days, no ship could pass. The losses ran up to billions of dollars. Back then, many experts called for an alternative, or at least a backup to the Suez Canal. Well, Russia and Iran believe they have found one. On Wednesday, both countries signed a railway agreement worth around $1.6 billion. The plan is to link 2 Iranian cities, Rasht on the Caspian Sea and Astara on the Azerbaijan border. The route will be 162 kilometers long. It is expected to be completed in 4 years. Both Iran and Russia are betting big on this project. Senior leaders from both countries oversaw the signing. Vladimir Putin and Ibrahim Raisi, the 2 presidents, joined in virtually. Here's what the Russian president said.
The goods transfer via this corridor will have significant competitive advantages. For example, the goods delivery from St. Petersburg to, let's say, Mumbai will take about 10 days. In comparison, the delivery through traditional ways will take about 45 days.
There's a reason why Putin used the example of Mumbai, because this railway isn't a standalone project. It's part of a bigger idea, the International North-South Transport Corridor. It was first proposed in the year 2002. Iran, Russia and India were the moving forces. The idea is simple, yet grand. Create a 7,200-kilometer long corridor, 7,200 kilometers. It will link the Indian Ocean to the Persian Gulf to the Caspian Sea to Russia, and from there to Northern Europe. It's a mix of everything, really. Shipping lanes, roads, railways. The plan is to get the goods to ports on the Persian Gulf, and from there, the ships take over. But how will this rival the Suez Canal? Because right now, it's the only route from Europe to Asia. This map should give you an idea. The starting and end points are the same, but the route is different. If successful, it will be great news for global trade, but getting there will be hard. The Suez makes up 12% of global trade. It has the head start of more than half a century. Plus, Russia and Iran face massive sanctions. Iran for its nuclear program, Russia for invading Ukraine. So building such a massive network is going to be tough, which is why this project hasn't really taken off yet. Some parts of this corridor have been built, but rivaling the Suez Canal is a long way off. But for the moment, let's keep the economics aside. What does this railway deal mean politically, strategically? It's a sign of how far Russia-Iran relations have come. During the Second World War, the Soviets invaded Iran. The Soviets were an occupying power for nearly 5 years in Iran, but today there are no hard feelings, it seems. In fact, Russia is one of Iran's closest partners. Moscow overtook China to become the largest investor in Iran. Around $2.7 billion was invested last year. Bilateral trade is almost $5 billion. That's 20% more than in 2021. There is a defense cooperation too. Iran is expected to get Su-35 fighter jets from Russia. 24 of them will be arriving later this month. And what did Russia get in return? Reports say drones. Apparently, Iran is smuggling drones to help Russia and Ukraine. Tehran denies this, but it's a hard sell. Putin has personally invested a lot in this relationship. He visited Iran in August last year, just his second foreign trip after the invasion began. He also backed Iran's entry into the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. What explains this close strategic partnership? One reason is Western sanctions. Both countries are feeling the pinch, so why not join hands and undermine the West? Iran gets much-needed investment in weapons. Russia gets a partner in West Asia. Both sides are also supporting the same guy in Syria, President Bashar al-Assad. So basically, it's all about give and take. Iran needed new partners after the Abraham Accords. Russia needed new allies after the Ukraine invasion. The puzzle fit perfectly, and the partnership was formed. The North-South corridor could cement this relationship. But will it rival the Suez? As they say, only time will tell. Meanwhile, China is also trying to make new friends, or perhaps steal some of Russia's. What are we talking about? China is courting 5 Central Asian nations this week. It's holding a summit, the China Central Asia Summit, the first of its kind. The venue is the city of Xi'an in China, one of the most populated cities in Western China, also historically significant. At one point, Xi'an was considered the starting point of the Silk Road, the ancient trade route that connected China to Europe. It went through medieval Central Asia. It enriched everyone along the way. Xi Jinping wants to stress on that ancient connection. He wants Central Asia on board for his new Silk Road. It's called the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. He also wants to use this opportunity to expand his sphere of influence. You see, these former Soviet republics have historically been dependent on Moscow. But now that Russia is busy in Ukraine, China wants to swoop in. Our next report has more.
There's a historic summit taking place in China. A summit between Xi Jinping and the leaders of 5 Central Asian nations. They're meeting in the western Chinese city of Xi'an. When the Central Asian leaders arrived, they were given a grand welcome. Song and dance and honor guards greeted them as they stepped off their planes. Xi Jinping didn't hold back. But why is China so invested in this summit? Because it sees a golden opportunity, a chance to strengthen partnerships while the rest of the world tries to decouple from China. The 5 nations invited are Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. They all lie between China, Russia, and Iran, at a critical juncture between the West and the East. China has already invested billions in the region as part of its Belt and Road Initiative. That's China's plan to create an overland trade route linking it to Europe. The name and trajectory of the BRI are a nod to the ancient Silk Road. The Silk Road connected China to Europe for thousands of years. It passed through the region where the 5 Central Asian nations now lie. So it's no coincidence that the city of Xi'an was chosen for the summit.
I would like to extend a warm welcome to President Tokayev to attend the summit in Xi'an at my invitation. I'm very happy to play host to Mr. President.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, I am very happy to meet you in the ancient city of Xi'an.
Distinguished Mr. President, I am really glad to meet you in Xi'an, the start point of the ancient Silk Road and the ancient city with historic significance. We are looking forward to the China-Central Asia Summit to be held tomorrow.
Xi is meeting the Central Asian leaders individually today. Tomorrow there will be a joint summit. China is expected to pledge higher investment in Central Asia, in the railways and natural gas sectors. There are also talks about reducing trade barriers and pledges of everlasting friendship.
The two sides should vigorously carry forward the traditional friendship, firmly support each other, deepen mutually beneficial cooperation, jointly pursue development and rejuvenation, and build a China-Kazakhstan community with a shared future featuring everlasting friendship, strong mutual trust and solidarity.
This may not go down well with Russia. You see, all 5 nations that China has invited are former Soviet states. They became independent after the fall of the USSR, and they've remained in Russia's sphere of influence. Now that may be changing. Russia is busy with the war in Ukraine, and these countries are stepping out of its shadow. Kazakhstan has refused to recognize Russia's annexation of Ukrainian regions. Tajikistan has demanded more respect from Russia. Their unease over the war makes sense. Ukraine is a former Soviet state, just like them. So courting China makes sense, at least for now. It's not clear how Moscow will deal with this. Guess the response will have to wait until after the war.
Now let's look at the US. The Wuhan virus is gone, or we've learned to live with it, but it has left a different pandemic in its wake. Clinical depression. A new study finds that depression rates in the US are at record levels. In fact, depression has been on the rise across the world. In 2021, 4 in 10 adults worldwide said they face depression and anxiety. And the numbers just keep going up. But why is this happening? A simple answer is the pandemic and its aftermath. But there's a lot more to it. Our next report brings you the details. The American dream has turned into American depression. A new study says people in the US are more depressed than ever before. This is according to a Gallup survey. It says 29% of Americans have been diagnosed with depression at some point in their lives. That's 3 out of 10 Americans. The figure is 10 points higher than what it was in 2015. The number of people suffering depression is almost 18%. That's 1/6 of America, a staggering number. What explains this? The Wuhan virus pandemic. It brought not just death and suffering, but also crippling loneliness. People under lockdown were trapped at home, separated from their loved ones, and that took a toll. That trauma hasn't been completely processed yet. Many are still reeling from long-term depression, and the effects aren't spread evenly. Women have been affected disproportionately. Around 25% of American women are currently depressed. COVID-era job cuts targeted them more. Many had to quit their jobs to look after children and the elderly. Then there are the frontline workers. In 2019, about 80% of US healthcare workers were women. So more women experienced the horrors of the Wuhan virus up close. Watching so many people die is bound to have an effect. And while this study was on the US, the numbers around the world aren't any better. In 2020, about 20% of the people around the world said they had experienced depression. The numbers were the highest in Latin America, about 33%. 27% in Russia and Central Asia, 26% in Australia and New Zealand, 20% the world over, except East Asia, where only 9% of the people said that they faced depression personally. But that doesn't mean that Japan, South Korea and Taiwan are exceptionally happy places. It just means that the stigma of talking about mental health issues runs high in this region. Increasingly, countries are trying to fix this, to destigmatize talking about depression. And the youth is leading the way. The world over, the youth are voicing their frustration. They're sick and tired and refuse to suffer in silence.
I would not want to leave. Everyone is here, my family, my companions, my friends. But in the last 2 years, I have caught myself thinking about it. There are days when my partner and I return from a 12-hour shift. We calculate what we made during these hours, as compared to the European countries, and I get depressed. I feel a sense of futility. That is the basic feeling, futility.
That's why almost all studies note that young people are the most depressed section of society. Because young people talk about their mental health. And maybe that's the way forward. You can't fix a problem if you don't admit that it exists. For our next story, let's talk about Princess Diana, one of the most photographed women in the world. Nearly every move of hers was followed by the paparazzi, so much so that it led to her death. She died on August 31st, 1997, in a car crash. It shocked the world. Her vehicle slammed into a support column. It flipped and came to rest in front of oncoming traffic. The car was speeding. Do you know why? Because she was being chased by a swarm of photographers. She was trying to evade them. As divided as the world was about British royals, it united in calling her death a loss, a tragedy. Something similar echoed this week, this time with her son, Prince Harry, along with his wife Meghan Markle and her mother. They were in New York. They just attended an award ceremony, but as soon as they left the event, the Duke and Duchess became involved in a car chase. They're calling it a quote-unquote near-catastrophic car chase. And who was chasing them? The paparazzi. They allegedly made the royals' transport challenging. No arrests or injuries have been reported, but according to claims, the risk of injuries was high. Listen to what the mayor said.
You know, the press, paparazzis, you know, they want to get the right shot, they want to get the right story. But public safety must always be at the forefront. The briefing I received, you know, 2 of our officers could have been injured.
Reports say there were numerous photographers in half a dozen cars, driving recklessly, going through red lights, driving on pavements, blocking other vehicles, all while taking photographs. That shows some serious dedication, but not the good kind. We can't help but question this perseverance, because this isn't the first time paparazzi has come under fire. An aggressive photographer once rammed his vehicle into a celebrity's car. There are often reports of paparazzi stalking celebrities, even following their children. Celebrities have termed this predatory and invasive. Many have taken photographers to court, but despite these celebs calling out this behavior, there is no change really. And with the advent of social media, things have only gotten worse. Paparazzi work to feed eyeballs, the public's voyeuristic obsession with the private lives of celebs. The juicier the content, the better. So for them, Meghan and Harry are the perfect fodder. The media has endless appetite, it seems, for stories about them. They're renegade royals. They have a frosty relationship with the crown. They're constantly fighting the royal security detail and battling the paparazzi. Prince Harry is currently involved in multiple legal disputes with the press. There are allegations of phone hacking and gathering information illegally. But his fight with them is not new. When Princess Diana died, Harry solely blamed the press. He called them a pack of dogs who followed her, chased her, harassed her, called her names. He claimed they would wait for her to overreact just so they could take a picture. And this does sound cruel. Of course, these are all claims, but hundreds of celebrities and influencers have come forward with similar allegations and stories. They say they feel like zoo animals. They question their safety and that of their children's. But the same problems persist. So we ask, is it okay to violate someone's privacy for Instagram likes? Is it okay to follow someone's children to school? Paparazzi play a crucial role in tabloid journalism, but the chaos they bring must be questioned. And the media frenzy should come with consequences. Now, we're creatures of habit, at least most of us. We wake up at a certain time, have our morning tea or coffee, and get to work, and this pattern repeats day after day. But when it comes to healthy habits, the pattern doesn't seem to last. Do you wonder why? We all want to eat better. We all want to exercise more. We clearly have more help than ever before. Celebrities want us to try detox drinks and join the hippest fitness cult. The internet throws health tips around like confetti. We watch all of it. And honestly, it's a little exhausting. Turns out that's literally why we don't achieve a healthy lifestyle. And I'm not the one saying this. A new survey it says we're too tired to be healthy. And if you can relate to this story, it's for you. But even so, is there a way out? Our next report explores.
We all want to live longer. We want a fit body, glowing skin, an intelligent brain, healthy relationships, a good career, a life full of adventure. Seriously, the list is endless. Because we want this and we want that. We also know how to get it. Study after study tells us that a healthy lifestyle will help us achieve it all. There's data to prove that exercising is great and good food is more than good for us. We understand these facts, yet we kind of do the very opposite. Sorry for calling people out, but the data agrees. 80% of adolescents and 27% of adults don't exercise enough. Let's put this another way. Worldwide, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men don't exercise enough. About 5 billion people worldwide don't have a healthy diet. 39% of adults worldwide are obese. About 1/5 of the world population is depressed. We can continue, but you probably understand what we're getting at. The irony is, there is endless information on the perks of a healthy lifestyle. There are listicles, articles, videos, podcasts and books on how to achieve it. And yet, this is where we stand. We just don't seem to be doing enough, even though we want to. Why is that? A new study has the answer. One that has probably been hidden in plain sight. It says we are simply too tired and we lack the motivation. Yes, we are too tired to be healthy. We want it, but just not enough. This is based on a survey in which 38% of the respondents say they lack the motivation. 35% said they were too tired to chase a healthy life. And that tracks. Food prices are soaring across the world. Gym membership fees are increasing. And even if we can afford a healthy lifestyle, we never seem to have enough time. Cooking from scratch is tough, so we just order in. Hitting the gym after work is tougher, so we just decompress with the help of our good old friend Netflix. At the risk of over-intellectualizing this, let's remember that being lazy is not a sign of weakness. It's only natural. Our ancestors strived to be lazy so they could conserve energy. They rested so they could successfully struggle to survive. So we're wired that way. But the thing is, in this modern world, we don't need to be. We are stuck in a vicious cycle. Exercising and eating well will give us strength. But we don't seem to have the energy to do that in the first place. It's understandable, but something's got to give, right? We have to break the cycle somewhere. Nutritional science is debated endlessly, but the benefits of a healthy diet and regular exercise are well established. They're good for our physical and psychological well-being. They help us breathe better and sleep better. They make us live longer and better. They even increase our motivation levels. The only ask is that of breaking this cycle, and it's a big one. But we need to take that hard first step in the right direction, because as they say, if not now, then when?
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. We're starting with Turkey. A storm sent a sofa flying off a balcony of a high-rise building. In Cambodia, the 32nd Southeast Asian Games have been concluded with a spectacular closing ceremony. And the wreckage of the Titanic has been fully visualized in 3D for the first time ever. Also, what makes the 18th of May significant? We're taking you back in history. On this day, NASA launched Apollo 10 mission. The year was 1969. The purpose of this mission was to cover all aspects of crewed lunar landing, except the landing itself. It was the first crewed Apollo spacecraft to operate around the moon. The mission also sent the first color TV pictures of the moon's surface to Earth. We're leaving you with this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
payload back. Welcome back to Earth. Billy Pugh is an old bosun, Norfolk, Virginia. Gene Cernan first, then John Young, then Colonel Stafford.
In the sense that there should not be a reaction from the communities, because there are communities who feel that they have been demonized.
Okay,
so what
Dr.
you need to
Trivedi,
differentiate between fallacy, lies, propaganda. And if you are if he's so happy about movies, why did they behave like that on the BBC documentary on the Modi question?
Yeah, the question.
Why didn't they allow?
Okay, I heard you.
Then?
The question that's being asked is, the party was openly campaigning for this private movie. Why are you campaigning for a private movie, number one? 3 states, BJP ruled states, made it tax-free. Why? And the most important question is that in Kerala, the supposed Kerala story in Kerala, this movie is not a hit. Nobody is watching this movie in Kerala.
Now on the issue of the fallacy, I would like to put forth the fact that the word love jihad was not devised by any person or any person related to BJP or Sangh Parivar. Madam, on 9th of December 2009, Kerala High Court in the Shah Jahan versus State of Kerala case on point number 16 had said that there seems to be an program going on like Romeo Jihad and Love Jihad by a section of Muslims. I think the Kerala High Court is having much better authority than what the government of West Bengal thinks. Moreover this, Kerala STF has submitted a report of approximately 5,000 cases in the Kerala court. And it said that these are the normal, usual cases of love affairs. These are being as per the design of SIMI in 1995, Student for Islamic Movement of India, which is now a banned organization, and as per people like you, it was a cultural organization. There was a systematic design to allure the middle class and upper middle class girls of Hindu and Christian communities. Even the Archbishop has also said like this. And over and above, the Chief Minister of Kerala, Mr. V.S. Achyutanandan, has said that this thing are going in such a pace.
Hello and welcome to CNN News 18 with me, Ayushman Singh Jamwal. This is the late night edition, getting you some breaking news at the top of the bulletin. Now, ahead of the inauguration of the new Parliament building on May 28th, ladies and gentlemen, Congress MP Jairam Ramesh has taken a direct shot at the Prime Minister, tweeting a photo of him inspecting the site, calling the entire project his personal vanity project, the Prime Minister's personal vanity project. Now, remember, the inauguration will take place on the 28th of May. But now Jairam Ramesh taking that direct shot at the Prime Minister. Those visuals on your screen, that's the tweet by Jairam Ramesh, who has called this entire project a personal vanity project of the Prime Minister. I'm joined by my colleague Pallavi Ghosh, who tracks the Congress party. So Pallavi, after their victory and the resolution of the CM question when it comes to Karnataka, now the Congress turning their attention to Prime Minister Modi's inauguration of the Central Vista on the 28th of May.
Yeah, so it coincides with the 9 years of the Modi government. And also, if you remember, when the Bhumi Pujan was done for this new project, Central Vista and the new parliament building, the opposition parties had actually boycotted it on the grounds that, first of all, they was not giving any respect to the opposition. But more importantly, they had made the point that for a government and for a party which shows no respect to the opposition, their voices are muzzled, mics are switched off, cameras are not focused on them, they cannot be a part of a process in which they are not included. And that has been a consistent line of the opposition, of the Congress party also. And it will be interesting to see, Ayushman, if on the day of inauguration, we will have people from the opposition, particularly the Congress party, actually attending it. Because what we are being told is that invitations are being sent out to the opposition leaders, and all of them are being asked to be a part of the inauguration of the new building by the Prime Minister.
Right. And Pallavi, at the same time, when it comes to Karnataka, we seem to be seeing that there's greater political stock in the Congress camp. How do you expect the other opposition parties to react to this pitch that's coming in from the Congress? At the same time, the Congress party directly attacking Prime Minister Modi. And in the Karnataka context, they also said that it was a defeat of brand Modi.
Yes, absolutely. It's always said it's a defeat of brand Modi and whatever he stood for. When it comes to the whole idea of disrespecting parliamentary democracy, I think we've always found the opposition parties more or less on the same page, at least in the last session. If you remember, when Rahul Gandhi was disqualified as a member of parliament, interestingly, one of the first reactions in his support came in from the Trinamool Congress, and almost every opposition party, barring the ones which are like Naveen Patnaik and so on and so forth, had actually defended Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party, so much so even the Aam Aadmi party had done. Criticizing the government for muzzling parliamentary democracy has been one unifying factor as far as the opposition parties go.
Right. Thank you, Pallavi, for getting us that piece of breaking news. The tussle between the BJP and the Congress in the wake of the Karnataka verdict continues. Now Congress taking a direct shot at Prime Minister Modi over the inauguration of the Central Vista on the 28th of May, calling it the Prime Minister's personal vanity project. But let's shift focus from across the border, ladies and gentlemen. Former Pakistan Prime Minister and PTI Chief Imran Khan has made a stunning allegation amid his face-off with the Pakistan government. He says that when former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif wanted to get close to India, he would ask the Pakistan army to curb terror activities against India, saying that Nawaz Sharif had a strategy to turn off the terror tap when he wanted to get close to India. Listen in to the former Pakistan Prime Minister.
जब नवाज शरीफ इंडियन लॉबी को और इजराइल लॉबी को अपने साथ बुलाना चाहता था, अपनी फौज को कह रहा था कि दहशतगर्दी में मुलव्वस है, उसके पैसे अरबों डॉलर बाहर पड़ा हुआ है। वो जब होता है मौके के बाहर भाग जाते। तो मेरा तो कोई बाहर नहीं जाना। तो मैं इसलिए आज ये कहना चाहता हूं कि ये लोग कामयाबी से वो काम कर रहे हैं जो मेरी आंखों के सामने इस पाकिस्तान में हुआ था। लेकिन वो आदमी जो चाहता था कि मैं प्राइम मिनिस्टर बन जाऊं, उसका बहुत बड़ा हाथ था।
I'm joined by my colleague Abhishek Jha on this big piece of breaking news coming in from Pakistan. So, Abhishek, from the Indian context, can we look at this as a former Prime Minister of Pakistan admitting to the export of terror from Pakistan into India?
Of course, Ashman, and we can also gauge from the statement that Imran Khan has just made. It said that it has been a tendency or a matter of state policy that the government in Pakistan has operated this terror as a statecraft, and they have used it as a matter of to have some sort of mobilization in the domestic politics as well. Why Imran Khan is trying to bring in Nawaz Sharif as a pro-India person, because that will fetch him a lot of votes in India, in Pakistan, because as much of Pakistani anti-India sentiment he can whip up, that will be some sort of gain in his electoral politics. And at the same time, he is bringing a bad, naming Nawaz Sharif as a pro-India or pro-Israeli person as well. So clearly, while Imran Khan is trying to, deal two blows to the existing government, or Nawaz Sharif's brother's government, Shehbaz Sharif's government in Pakistan. And he has also clearly said about the atrocities or the crime that Pakistani army has committed in East Bangladesh, which is now Bangladesh, and why it fell out of Pakistan, or why Pakistan broke, because of the army policies and its human rights violation, and its army trying to get too much involved in the real-time politics of Bangladesh and not letting the democratic setup operate in Bangladesh. So this is what he is trying to blame on the current-day army of Pakistan as well, that army is not letting the democratic setup work independently, and all the mess that currently Pakistan is facing is because of the unjustified intervention of army in the day-to-day affairs of the government of Pakistan.
Right, but at the same time, Abhishek, beyond his tussle with the Pakistan government, with Shehbaz Sharif, what Imran Khan has said gives a serious blow. It delivers a serious blow to Pakistan's image on the global stage. Not only is he saying that the army is above the democratic institutions of Pakistan, and which has repeatedly intervened in Pakistan's democracy, he is also admitting to the human rights violations committed by the Pakistan army in East Pakistan, currently Bangladesh, which the Pakistan government for decades has denied. He's also giving an open admission that terror is exported from Pakistan into India. Beyond the internal politics of Pakistan, this is a huge blow to Pakistan's international image coming in from Imran Khan.
Of course, and we have seen that Pakistan's politics is at a very, imploding in a way, where people are coming out with a revelation that is not only going to bring a bad name to the politics of Pakistan, or the politician of Pakistan, or the army of Pakistan, but it is also going to give a permanent dent to the credibility that Pakistan has had, though it never had a strong credibility or reputation at international forum. But whatever little credibility it had, it is also going to be tarnished, because what Imran Khan is saying, Imran Khan has got a lot of support from overseas Pakistanis. PTI's office bearers are actually operating across Pakistan, across the world, in various countries, especially in Europe, Canada, in USA, in Australia as well. And they are also trying to mobilize, support in favor of Pakistan by telling the world that how atrocious Pakistan's current government is, how much of influence army is playing in the current government. And this is not going to fade away from the memory of people in the other part of the world. So clearly what Imran Khan is doing right now is trying to reveal his own country, and the statecraft, that has the deep state, which has been involved in exporting terrorism across the border in India for decades now, and which has also tried to play victim cards for its own self. Pakistan has been a terror hub, where it has exported terrorism to Iran, it has exported terrorism to Afghanistan and India. So clearly an epicenter of terrorism, which External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has said to Pakistan, is something that Pakistan's former Prime Minister is now acknowledging himself.
Right. Thank you, Abhishek, for getting us that big piece of breaking news. So Imran Khan, while he's playing to his domestic galleries ahead of the elections in Pakistan, he has really dented Pakistan's international image. Not only has he admitted that terror is exported from Pakistan into India, he has also admitted that the Pakistan army committed atrocities in East Pakistan, currently Bangladesh. Both these topics, ladies and gentlemen, the Pakistan army has denied for decades. The Pakistan government has denied for decades. So that stunning charge coming in from Imran Khan against Nawaz Sharif. But let's come back home. After a hectic power play, Siddaramaiah has been chosen to be the next Chief Minister of Karnataka. D.K. Shivkumar will take up the post of Deputy Chief Minister. Both leaders reached Raj Bhavan to stake claim to form the government. Top Congress sources have informed CNN News 18 that a call from Mrs. Sonia Gandhi sealed the deal between the two leaders after days of power plays. The oath-taking ceremony is scheduled to take place on the 20th of May.
Finally, the official announcement has been made, sir.
Now in Congress, sir, what you say? All is well in now Congress party.
What has happened to Congress party? Everything is well. Everything will be well, is going to be well.
But under your leadership, you have won 135, and now you are the deputy CM. Have you accepted it?
See, we had made a one-line resolution that whatever the High Command will take a decision, we'll abide by it. Ultimately, Rahulji called me and said, you all have to work together. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge ji called us and gave this dikat. We all have accepted whatever the formula has been generated.
Sir, you'll also be the KPCC. You'll continue as the KPCC president. Sir, just one. Sir, just one. Sir, you'll continue as the KPCC president, sir. Sir, just one comment on that, sir. Sir, one comment. A small comment.
So after 5 days of brinkmanship and one-upmanship, finally Siddaramaiah and DK Shivkumar have agreed to this compromise formula put forth by the Congress High Command. So what does this compromise formula entail? We've been talking about this for the better part of the last week. Number one, Siddaramaiah will be the Chief Minister of Karnataka. There is no question of any changes there. He will be the numero uno in the Karnataka cabinet. DK Shivkumar will be his deputy, and this was an important one for DK, that he will be the only deputy chief minister. There will be no other deputy chief ministers in Karnataka. Also, that DK Shivkumar can and will continue as the KPCC president up until the next Lok Sabha elections in 2024 at the very least. And that again was one of the key concerns for DK Shivkumar. Also, there will be no rotational transfer of power. That was something that DK was insisting on. That was something that somehow the High Command was not able to convince Mr. Siddaramaiah of. And in a sense, it would have undermined his authority. So no rotational chief ministership, at least nothing that has been publicly conveyed as of now when the decision was made today. Now, the oath-taking ceremony is going to happen on Saturday, on the 20th of May. It's going to be at 12:30 at the Kantirava Stadium. We're given to understand that on Saturday, in all likelihood, it will only just be the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister who will take oath. The rest of the cabinet will be decided later.
And staying with Karnataka, top Congress sources have told CNN News 18 that West Bengal Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee will attend Siddaramaiah's swearing-in, which is slated to take place on the 20th of May in Bengaluru. That's the piece of breaking news that's coming in. We are seeing elements of the opposition come together after the Congress party's stunning victory in Karnataka. Now, top Congress sources are telling CNN News 18 that West Bengal Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee will attend Siddaramaiah's swearing-in, which is slated to take place on May 20th in Bengaluru. Mamta Banerjee lending her support to the Congress party, saying that when it comes to taking on the BJP, she will support the Congress party. That's the pitch coming in from top Congress sources that Mamta Banerjee will attend the swearing-in. And shifting focus, India is among 8 countries invited to participate in outreach sessions of the G7 summit in Hiroshima. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also expected to address sessions at the G7 summit on subjects like peace, stability, gender equality and climate change. Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra has said that India's participation at the G7 summit signals increasing recognition that New Delhi should be part of any serious effort to resolve global challenges. Prime Minister Modi is scheduled to have over 40 engagements with over 24 world leaders as well as bilateral meetings.
India's regular participation at the G7 summits clearly points to increasing recognition that India should be a part of any serious effort to resolve global challenges, including those of peace, security, development and environment preservation.
The G7 countries totally represent almost 47% of the global GDP and 10% of the world's population. I am in Hiroshima, where the G7 Hiroshima summit will be taking place, and India has been invited for the outreach session. There are 3 outreach sessions where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be a participant. So what is on Prime Minister's agenda? With me is Indian Ambassador to Japan. Ambassador George, really appreciate your time on a bright day, and the weather is quite pleasant here.
Thank you very much. We look forward to the visit of Honorable Prime Minister to Hiroshima tomorrow. As you are aware, in March, Prime Minister of Japan, Mr. Kishida, had visited India, met our Prime Minister and personally invited him to come to Hiroshima summit. And the invitation has been accepted, and he is coming here tomorrow. We look forward to the visit.
Particularly the significance of Hiroshima. in the backdrop of an ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. You have an aggressive China and also the tensions in North Korea. Do you think the G7 countries will be able to send that important message of nuclear disarmament?
India always stands for peace. As you are aware, our position on Russia-Ukraine issue has been well articulated by our leadership in the past on many occasions, including at the UN Security Council when we were a member of the UN Security Council. So India always stands for peace. Prime Minister has made it very clear that this is an era of peace and not of war. That continues to be our position.
India has said, yes, you rightly said, and that has been included in the statement that was issued also, that this is an era of peace. That is why, perhaps, the unveiling of the Gandhi bust becomes important. Gandhi being established in Hiroshima.
Gandhi is a symbol of peace. In fact, United Nations unanimously adopted October 2nd as the International Day of Non-Violence. So the presence of Gandhi in Hiroshima is a very important development and is a contribution of India to the peace in the world.
Let's talk about Hiroshima and the significance of powerful nations meeting in Hiroshima and 8 countries, including India, being invited. India being seen as the representative of Global South.
See, India is a very important partner in today when it comes to peace and stability and also prosperity. If you look at it, India is the largest populated country in the world. We are 1/6 of the total population of the world. It is the 5th largest economy in the world. It has one of the largest youth population in the world. So India is a country which is being recognized as an important partner by all across the globe, including the G7 countries. So our participation in this important summit is very important. We look forward to a very successful summit participation by India in coming days.
The Honorable Chief Minister took a call because she is the administrative head of her state and she knows best what is best for her state.
They started asking questions first, then they will confuse us and then criticizing our religion, our customs, rituals, everything, and slowly inject their dangerous ideology to our brain.
सच्चाई की एक इतना पावर है ना, इतना पावर है सच्चाई की, आप कुछ भी कर लीजिए, जिस दिन वो अपने कटघरा में खड़ा किया जाएगा ना, सच्चाई जीतेगा। तो इनकी स्टोरी जो दुनिया सुनने के लिए सुनना चाहिए था, ये इंसानियत की तौर पे आज सुने।
हम पहले दिन से समझते थे कि कठिनाइयाँ आएंगी, बट अगर हमारी ये जिम्मेदारी है कि हम इन लड़कियों की कहानी को लोगों के सामने ले आएं, तो फिर कोई कठिनाई मायने नहीं रखती।
Right, shifting focus to the big win for the Kerala story. The Apex Court has lifted the ban on the film. The Supreme Court has stayed the West Bengal government's order issued on May 8. The top court has said that theatres are free to conduct screenings of the film across the state, adding that a ban can't become a premium on intolerance. The top court's order has come as a huge relief for the producers as the film continues to perform at the box office. The TMC continues to defend the ban, saying public order is under the purview of the state government and action was required to maintain peace.
Congratulations.
Namaste.
Congratulations. How would you see the ruling by the Honorable Court today, Supreme Court?
It's a great ruling. It's a landmark judgment, according to me. It will go a long way in our principles of democracy and free speech, and people will be able to enjoy this film now in the parts where it was not allowed. So I think it's a great judgment. We have still to receive the copy, so fine print has to be read. But according to me, whatever I heard, it's amazing.
Vipulji, some amendments that you would also, as the filmmaker, would have to make in the disclaimer part, where the court has opined and Justice Chandrachud has said in the court that you would have to say that the number 32,000 has not been authenticated or verified, and the other part that this is a fictionalized version of events. So this disclaimer you would have to add. Are you open to doing that?
We will, again, I will have to study the judgment and what the disclaimer needs to be changed to. But we will abide by the Supreme Court's judgment in its totality. We are absolutely law-abiding and we respect what Honorable Supreme Court has delivered today. I think today is a day for every Indian who wants the right for free speech and freedom of expression should be happy. We are really, really grateful.
You say the freedom of speech, but freedom of speech also comes with certain restrictions and responsibility. So let me ask you, this whole fight has been, our argument has been based around this 32,000 number. Do you believe that that could have been avoided? Was it a tad irresponsible to go big with this 32,000 number?
Anand, let the judgment come in my hand. I want to talk about this 32,000 number in detail, but maybe today is not the right day. We don't want to say anything which might contravene, with the judgment itself.
One of the charges that has been levied in court is vilification of a particular community. And that's why the court has also asked or urged the filmmakers to add this to your disclaimer, which I was telling Vipulji also, that this is a fictionalized version of events. And also around the number 32,000, saying that it's nothing, there is nothing to verify or authenticate this number of 32,000.
I did not see the Supreme Court verdict, or neither I was able to talk to our lawyer as well as Vipulji, so I will not be able to comment on what exactly been said in the verdict. But end of the day, the film will run again in the West Bengal and Tamil Nadu. West Bengal and Tamil Nadu people was divided of their right. Now in the thousands in numbers, people are writing us, they want to watch the film. So we are extremely happy that the people of West Bengal and Tamil Nadu will be able to see the film. Thank you so much, all the media, all the newspaper, television channels, common people, that you made it possible. So we always said that we have immense respect on the judiciary of our country. So definitely the verdict which has allowed those people of West Bengal to watch the film definitely has certain potential. I'm sorry that I did not see the verdict yet.
And shifting focus to some international news, the Texas legislature has banned transgender athletes from playing on teams that align with their gender identity. But the legislation still has a way to go till it makes it to the governor's desk. This is a CNN special report.
Senate Bill 15 would require college athletes to play on teams that align with their sex at birth.
Senate Bill 15 is about protecting women from undue physical harm and making sure that all athletic competitions for women are safe.
The bill's author, Representative Valerie Swanson, and other Republican women stood together as Senate Bill 15 came up for debate.
Senate Bill 15 is about taking a principled stand for Texas women and ensuring that not a single woman loses a scholarship, a roster spot, or a second of playing time to a biological male.
It is just one of several bills aimed at transgender people this session. On Tuesday, the House passed Senate Bill 14, which bans gender-affirming treatment for minors.
That was an incredibly hard moment for our community. This is another moment where, again, the weight is falling on top of people that are bearing the brunt of this attack and really just feeling awful about it.
Ricardo Martinez is the CEO of Equality Texas, an advocacy group for the LGBTQ community.
There are so many things that we can do right now to help and protect women, help sports, and it's not banning transgender athletes.
John Busey represents Cedar Park and Leander in the Texas House.
Senate Bill 15 does nothing to save women's sports. This bill does nothing to support Title IX, and it does nothing to address the real and documented threats to equal access.
But conservative lobbyists Texas values disagree. Megan Benton is an intern.
Well, my take on Senate Bill 15 is that this is a great opportunity for us to protect women's sports at the collegiate level.
I reached out to the NCAA, the governing body of competitive college-level sports, and they did not directly address Senate Bill 15. Quote, the NCAA's current transgender student-athlete participation policy aligns with the Olympic movement and balances fairness, inclusion, and safety for all student athletes. According to Inside Higher Ed magazine, there are currently 32 transgender athletes in collegiate sports around the country, which leaves the bill's critics wondering why it's up for debate.
Senate Bill 15 is yet again a solution in search of a problem and unworthy of serious consideration by this body.
Are you satisfied that the Congress is in a position, if not to emerge as the single largest party?
Without any support, we'll form a government.
The million-dollar question, who is going to be chief minister?
Why you are worried about the chief minister?
Had you not quit, then the numbers would have been very different.
Definitely.
Let's bring it up one by one as to what worked for the Congress.
The BJP has 38% vote share, so they are up by 2% from the last time around. Congress has moved up at least about 6 to 7% in vote share.
Out of the 28 sitting MLAs who were dropped, the BJP won only 13.
The Congress kept this election extremely local. So there were local leaders focusing on local issues. Bajrang Bali gambit that we have been saying, this led to the consolidation of the Muslim votes, the triangular contest becoming a bipolar contest.
Movie, but to come out and to stick your head out and make it tax-free. Third is, as I said, it was the state's prerogative to decide, and she decided in the best, with an honest intent for the welfare of the people, in the sense that there should not be a reaction from the communities, because there are communities who feel that they have been demonized.
Okay,
so what is
Dr.
you
Trivedi,
need to differentiate between fallacy, lies, propaganda. And if you are if he's so happy about movies, why did they behave like that on the BBC documentary on the Modi question?
Yeah, the question.
Why didn't they allow?
Okay,
Where is
I
the
heard you.
freedom then?
The question that's being asked is, the party was